Welcome back to BT. So we're in the final few hours of summer, and listen, schedules, they're pretty packed. Stress, it is on the rise. But when does it cross the line into maybe something a little bit more serious? Joining us now is the founder of Kotak Law, Nainesh Kotak, trying to break down the signs, the stats, and what you need to know about taking a mental health leave. Good morning, Nainesh.
Thank you, Tim. Great to see you.
Good to see you. Because there's this term that you're hearing more and more is Stresstember.
Right.
What is it?
Right. Essentially, it is the September blues. It's a time of year where people, the summer's done, you've got the change of season, you get a little more anxious, and employers have greater demands. The schedules are more difficult, the targets are there, and people react often with an increase in mental illness signs such as depression and anxiety.
Okay, so we're seeing more. Do we see a lot more cases in the month of September than other months?
Absolutely. We tend to get more disability cases where people are making inquiries as to how do I make a claim. And this occurs, I would say, 2 months in a year. Obviously, it happens all the time, but September and January because of the post-holiday blues, but September quite significantly with the change of season. The days are shorter. Stresses are increasing.
Okay, let's get into, so even for somebody at home now, maybe some symptoms of stress and anxiety that you should be aware of?
Right. To begin with, it might be lack of sleep. You're thinking at night, worried about the next day, reluctance to get to work, to go to work, more than usual, I would say. Difficulty doing tasks at work, just sort of getting blocked a little bit, just, the motivation or fears or stopping from completing your tasks. Conflict at work sometimes, the stress sort of boils over, brain fog, and inability to concentrate.
Okay, so at what point do you know, or do you think maybe a mental health leave might be the right move in this instance, if it's come to that?
I think if the symptoms are becoming quite debilitating, and if you're unable to do your job, this is something you should think about. First step would be getting help, medical help. Often employers have an EAP, Employer Assistance Program. I would suggest to make use of it. Take sick days if necessary, even take your vacation days if you have any left, if necessary, just to sort of step back and recharge. So those are some of the medical things that you could do. But if it gets to a point, Tim, I think where it's obvious that you cannot perform your job, then you need to think about a leave. There's different options. You may have a short-term disability plan or a long-term disability plan at work. If you don't have that, there may be even sickness EI, which is 16 weeks. And of course, you would need support of your treating practitioners to support that application.
Yeah, there's something that's on the screen right there, keeping records.
Right.
How important is that, keeping records, for an employer or for the employee itself?
Right. I would say for the employee, look, if you've brought the condition to your employer's attention, and it might be certain circumstances, certain supervisor that you really can't work with, make records of what you have said, because there are human rights considerations that can apply with respect to mental health if the employer has a duty to accommodate within reason. And if they haven't done so, it could lead to human rights damages as well. So I think it's important to document yourself if you've had discussions with your employer about your condition and the workplace environment itself. And also keep track of the doctors you're seeing and your medications, things like that. The doctors will obviously keep notes as well.
Where's the evolution come with employers recognizing mental health leaves in your conversations?
Right. I think, look, for the most part, a lot of employers, particularly the bigger employers, are begun to recognize mental health stresses as a legitimate condition. The stigma is sort of being pushed away. But it's not completely so. And there are a number of employers who will fight back and sort of say, get over it. And, the other workers might feel, well, you're not pulling your weight. So I think there's a long way to go for employers in terms of treating mental illness in a similar way as they would treat a physical illness, that it actually does exist.
And that's going through those proper steps again.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Talking to a doctor and keeping those records. So let's get to the point. So how do people would you apply for a disability leave if it's come to that point?
Right. So if you have a short-term disability plan available through work, there are 3 forms that will be completed. First is the employee statement, where you really set out the condition that you're going through. There's an employer statement, which is sort of basic, factual, what you're earning, how long you've worked there. The most important form is the physician statement, and that will set out your diagnosis, your treatment, and how your illness affects your ability to function at work, and that's the key. So it's very important to go to the doctor and talk about the symptoms that you're going through and get referrals, whether it's to a psychiatrist, to a social worker or a psychologist.
Okay, good. And this is generally across the country? It's kind of a set and mandate?
Absolutely, yeah. You know, we see it, we practice throughout the country, primarily Ontario and Alberta, but we do see the same forms, obviously. These are national insurance companies, and the same employment-related issues arise throughout the country.
Okay, good seeing you.
Good seeing you again,
It's been a little bit. Where can we find more info for you and Kotak Law, Nainesh?
Right. I would say the best to check out our website, kotaklaw.com. We have lots of blogs where we discuss these very issues that we're discussing today.
Precedent cases that you've done in the past. Good stuff. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Let's